All right, greetings, educators. This is Chapter 5. We're going to talk about diversity and multiculturalism. You're going to see my humidifier going off in the background. I've been sick again. Hopefully, staying under the humidifier is going to help a little bit. I have some information about diversity and multiculturalism that I'd like for you to think about that's outside the book's boundaries. I have my stepmother is a math teacher in the Coral School District in El Paso. She teaches bilingual math. She is from Ciudad, Chihuahua, and she is, of course, bilingual. And I asked her one day what their program was like, and they require, or they highly suggest, now I guess she's going against policy when she does this, but they want her to teach in English. And I asked her how she handled this, and she says that she shuts her door. And she tries really hard not to have to teach their students in English, because she said that math is its own language, and she can't teach the language of math in the language of English if her students don't understand English. So she believes that it's important for them to get the concepts and ideas and stuff of what she's teaching them in their heritage language. And so she says what she does is she teaches them in Spanish and then talks to them about it, the same thing in English, so that they'll know what she's referring to in both languages. So that's kind of interesting little side note there. Also, about bilingual programs, one of the things I heard a few years ago that I thought you would be interested in is that the Los Angeles School District, the Unified School District, has to be prepared to teach over 100 different language groups in their bilingual ed programs. Now, they've got hundreds of schools in the Los Angeles area, and the magnitude and the scope of this, how they logistically handle this, just boggles my mind. I don't understand how they do it. When you think about having to address 100 different languages in one school district, it's just unbelievable. I would like to one day go out and observe the program, but of course I probably never will. It's not my area of expertise. Also, in this book, in this chapter, which I think is a very nice chapter, I think they do a really good job of giving you a well-rounded view of some of the issues of diversity and multiculturalism and the diverse learner in education. But the chapter talks about diversity, but it also talks about segregation in schools, like tracking. I hadn't heard about tracking until just a few years ago, and what they do is they track students through accelerated programs, AP programs. They track students down to learners, students with learning and disabilities and stuff like that. And so tracking's an issue that you're going to have to get familiar with, and you'll hear more about as you go along in your education. And it's an interesting topic, and it's got its whole area of issues that goes along with it. Gender issues. I read recently a national study where teacher attitudes are a definite influence on female students' math success or lack of success. And so that's another issue. The book talks a little bit about gender issues. You need to be aware of that. One of the things the book talks about is learning styles. But recently there's been some more talk about multiple intelligences. And so as a teacher who's trying to deal with AYP and testing and IEPs and all the things that go on, how do you also teach the different learning styles in your classroom, especially if you have students with severe learning disabilities too? And so the job of teaching is, I'm not trying to scare you off, but it is very difficult. The chapter also talks about exceptional learners and learners with disabilities. One of the terms that you need to become familiar with is on page 122, and it's called the Individualized Education Program, or better known as an IEP. IEP, 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 Individualized Education Program. You're going to hear that 1,000 million times as an educator. I have a niece who teaches here in Carlsbad School District. She started out this school year with almost half of her students in her class had IEPs. And that's come down a little bit. I think when they realized the ratio of the students that she had with IEPs to the regular students, I think they spread her workload out a little bit. And so, anyway, you'll need to get to know the term IEP and what it means to an educator, what it means to the school districts and stuff like that. And so, anyway, also, I suggest that you read page 127 in the day of the life of an educator. This will give you a small glimpse of what these teachers go through. It's nowhere near the robust scope of what our teachers deal with. One of the things that surprised me when I did my student teaching was how exhausting teaching is. When a teacher walks into that school in the morning, they have total sensory overload until the time they leave. They are being pulled out, pushed out, prodded, from just moment by moment, and they don't even, they're supposed to have planning periods. There's something always going on in their planning periods. They're supposed to have lunch break. They never get a lunch break. It's just crazy. And that was, I did my student teaching at a very small school district. I can't imagine what it is in a bigger school district. I want to talk to you a little bit now about a book called Possible Lives. One of the things that I think is interesting about the Loving School District is how they talk about possibilities. They have, I've never heard anybody out there ever say anything about we can't do that. And where I'm going with that here is, I deal with several different school districts in the job that I do, because I deal with online learning, and we have dual enrollment students in our online classes. I work for the college, but we have high school kids taking those classes. And several times I've heard different school districts around our area say, oh, we can't do that. That's not possible. One of the things that I like about the Loving School District is that they think about possibilities. And if you ever get an opportunity to read a Mike Rose book called Possible Lives, he goes around the nation and went around the nation and looked at different programs. And some of them were bilingual and multicultural programs about possibilities and opportunities for teaching and opportunities for educating. And it's a really uplifting book about education, because so many times, and even I lecturing you can sound very negative about education. And so I'm not trying to lecture, I'm not trying to be negative about it, I'm trying to be realistic about it. Now, in that realism, we can also think about possibilities. And I'm generally an optimistic person, and I believe anything is possible if we put enough positive attitudes together to accomplish it. All right, so I'm going to turn now and try to talk to you a little bit about things that we need to address in the future. I've got 3 things going on, just pretty quick. Your interviews. We're far enough along in the book now that I think I can start talk to you about these 2 assignments. I wanted you to have a good knowledge base of educational terms. I know that some of you are in schools and probably know a lot of this stuff, but there's others in this class that don't, and I have to hit both spectrums. And so now that we're 5 chapters in, and are going to be after this week, I think you're getting a pretty good idea about some of the things that are going on in education. You're going to be able to discourse about that with the teacher that you interview and the administrator that you interview. And so I will get you those directions at the end of the week. Begin to think and formulate some of the questions that you could ask those educators, and then you might write down a short list of key terms that you'd like to bring up with those educators when you're doing your interviews. And now that we're this far along in the book, you can do that. Also, your group project. Your group project is going to be a bibliography, an annotated bibliography. I'm going to ask you to gather some references about a topic that you're interested that goes with education. You can do vouchers, you can do bilingual ed, you can do special education, you can do constructivism. I'm interested in technology. You can do technology in education. There's just a 1,000 things out there, and your book is going to be a good resource for you to figure out what topic that you're specifically interested in. And then you're going to find some references about that topic, and then the group's going to get together and they're going to put together their stuff.